If you're like me, you weren't allowed to watch Teen Wolf when you were growing up, so unlike all the other normal kids who would watch Teen Wolf on MTV, you had to watch it on an illegal website. But the illegal website only worked on your parents' computer, and your parents' computer happened to be in your parents' bedroom, so you could only watch it when they were gone. So you would sit by the window and you'd watch Teen Wolf on the illegal website, with the blinds open just enough so you could see their car pull into the driveway, but not enough that they could see you. So when they came home, you had just enough time to close your tab, clear the search history, and go into your room and pretend like you were doing homework the entire time. Welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, which you probably are, hello. So right after I posted my first video, I got a new job, and then I moved into my first apartment, and then right after I posted my second video, I moved into a bigger, more permanent apartment. So I've kind of had a lot going on, but I still thought it might be fun to make another YouTube video. My room is not yet as cute as my room at my parents' house was, but I'm working on it, okay? I have a lot of ideas for YouTube videos, but because my interests are kind of like sporadic and random, I don't necessarily think there would be an audience for the kinds of things that I would like to make YouTube videos about. I just don't think there would be enough people who were as interested in them as I was. I mean, I don't know, maybe there's some people out there who went through a quarter-life crisis where they became hyper-fixated on Frank Sinatra's acting career to the point where they read an 1,800-page biography detailing his life and contemplated writing a biopic screenplay and presenting it to Martin Scorsese because they really felt like they understood the guy. I mean, maybe these people exist, I can't be sure, so I needed to pick something a little more relevant. Fortunately for me, something that is a little bit more relevant right now is Dylan O'Brien, aka the most underrated actor of our generation. And look, I'm sure there are other underrated actors, but Dylan O'Brien is consistently underutilized, underrated, and underappreciated for his work. Thankfully, it seems like he's making a little bit of a comeback right now, or not even a comeback, but like a come up, if you will. In the past year, he was in 3 feature films, one of which is the reason why he's a little bit more relevant right now, or at least a little bit more relevant now than he was maybe 3 months ago. This is because he might be responsible for the collapse of Sundance Film Festival's online streaming feature. Not him responsible, but unfortunately indirectly involved. A certain explicit scene of him from his film that premiered at Sundance, which was called Twinless, a certain scene from that movie was leaked online, which caused the festival to remove the film from their website for piracy reasons, and it might result in the Sundance Film Festival permanently removing the streaming feature from future festivals to come. So that's why Dylan O'Brien is a little bit more relevant right now, but lucky for you, he's always been relevant to me. So together we're going to take a little stroll through the life and career of Dylan O'Brien, so whether you're a new fan or an OG fan, get ready to be obsessed.
Dylan, why are you taking all this time off work? When are you going to go back to work? Are there projects out there for you? Does anyone think you're good at acting?
So I did a little bit of research for this, and I learned a little bit about my boy Dylan from a website called dylanobrien.org. Perfect. Dylan O'Brien grew up in New Jersey but moved to California when he was 12. His mom was a former actress who ran an acting school, and his dad was a camera operator. So not quite a nepo baby, but definitely he had some connections to the industry and a pathway available to him from an early age. At 14, Dylan started making YouTube videos and posting them online. Luckily, they still exist on the internet on his YouTube channel, Movie Kid 826.
Hey guys, Movie Kid here.
Feel free to take a look at these. They're still there. My personal favorites are how to make a YouTube video.
Who cares? I don't. Sorry, that was way too loud.
My super sweet tag video.
I'm a diehard Mets fan. I watch almost every game during the year and read almost every single article during the off-season.
And the classic True Wannabe.
Yo,
these random homemade videos, you can already kind of see Dylan's acting origins beginning to take shape, which sounds kind of dumb, but you can see it specifically in his physicality and his comedic timing.
John, I need something to work with here. You've got to be kidding me. You call this professional? Oh my God. Talk to me. Talk to me. I'm right here acting in the scene with you.
In high school, Dylan acted in a web series called Sweetie High that I have not seen and cannot vouch for.
Chandra. He's got mad skills.
Shut up, Trevor.
And from here, he was connected with a manager and signed by a talent agency. Originally, he had planned to go into sports broadcasting, but after signing with his manager, he decided to pursue acting. This is when he auditioned for a little show called Teen Wolf.
What the hell is that? There's a wolf. Yeah, I can see that.
I was lucky enough that I was in high school when Teen Wolf was airing on MTV, so I got to see everything as it was coming out. Monday night premieres, Wolf Watch,
What color is Styles' car?
Blue.
Got it.
the After show.
More like no style. Roasted. Oh!
Unfortunately, I was not allowed to watch Teen Wolf, but between illegal websites and watching at friends' houses, I was able to stay up to date, and this is where I was first introduced to Dylan. In my research, I learned that he originally was going to audition for the role of Scott McCall, which is the lead role, but after reading the script, he decided that he would rather audition for Scott McCall's comedic relief best friend, Stiles Stilinski.
What did you find? How did you find it? Where did you find it? And yes, I've had a lot of Adderall, so...
Teen Wolf airs, it's immediately popular. It gets 2.17 million views for the premiere. I'm not really gonna get into all of the Teen Wolf lore and stuff outside of Styles, but Julia Cudney has a really good deep dive video all about Teen Wolf if you're looking for that. So highly recommend. We are going to spend a little bit of time on Teen Wolf because this is like the basis and the foundation of Dylan's career. So I feel like it's important to cover that. So in Teen Wolf, you've got main character Scott McCall, who gets bit by a werewolf. You've got creepy, hot loner Derek Hale, who's kind of a werewolf mentor to Scott. And then you've got various hot teenagers who play different roles in Scott's life. Love interest, mean girl, bully, and best friend Stiles.
Hell are you doing? You weren't answering your phone. Why do you have a bat?
Now, Stiles is one of the only characters on the show outside of the parents who has no superpowers and no connection to the supernatural world outside of his friends. But as the show goes on, he's still very much a part of the pack. The pack. Which ties into the show's overarching themes of friendship as family. For the first 2 seasons, Stiles serves as the main comic relief on the show. And even if you don't think that the show is that funny, Dylan O'Brien delivers every time, and I'm not just saying that.
Hey, bitch.
You're gonna cut off my arm.
Oh my God. Am I attractive to gay guy? You didn't answer my question. You called the police before you called me?
I'm supposed to call you first when I find a dead body?
Yes!
Most people who have watched Teen Wolf will say that Stiles is the best part of the show. I think comedically he carries the entire series, with a few exceptions. And then as the show goes on, Dylan gets more and more opportunities to showcase his dramatic abilities, and this gives the audience an entirely different side of Stiles, which shapes him even more as a character. The first moment I remember on the show where I was like, wait, this guy, he's good. Like, outside of just being funny, I was like,
She's
he's really good. And that was in season 2, episode 9, which is called Party Guest. In this episode, Lydia is being manipulated by the ghost of the dead uncle of Derek, who is the one who bit Scott and turned him into a werewolf, because he wants her to bring him back from the dead. And in order to do this, she has to poison everybody at her party with this thing called Wolf's Bane, so she can kidnap Derek and force him to resurrect Peter from the dead on the worm moon. The context is not important, okay? It's Teen Wolf. There's going to be plot holes. But the important part is that Styles hallucinates that his dad blames him for the death of his mom, and Dylan gets a chance to show off his acting chops, again, outside of comedy.
You Styles. You killed your mother. You hear me? You killed her. And now you're killing me.
So that was the first time I was like, okay,
She's
like,
really
he's all right.
good.
I think when it comes to calling someone a good actor versus a bad actor, or not even that, but a great actor versus a good actor, I think it's a little bit subjective. Aspects of one performance might ring true to you while another one might not stand out as much. But I feel like the main thing for me that separates good actors from great actors is their ability to make you forget that they're acting. Where an actor can embody a character naturally and genuinely to the point where you forget you're watching a movie and you have a genuine emotional reaction to that performance. And not just crying, like any kind of emotional reaction. Being scared, being happy, being angry. Other things can also be taken into account, like their ability to react authentically to other actors and their ability to convey emotion through their eyes, their voice, and their physicality. So as we go deeper into Teen Wolf, I feel like we really get to see Dylan explore more of his acting range through seasons 2 and season 3. And then we arrive at season 3B.
It was you. This isn't you.
This isn't you.
This isn't you.
Just like how most people will say that Styles was their favorite part of Teen Wolf, most people who watch the show will say that season 3B was their favorite season. It's definitely peak Teen Wolf. The cast of characters is stacked. The storyline is well crafted. It's really scary and not just like teen show scary. It's like actual horror scary at times. And most importantly, it has a good villain in Styles. Season 3B, the story revolves around Styles as he is possessed by a dark Japanese spirit called a nogitsune. This results in lots of opportunities for Dylan to shine. He probably gets the most airtime this season, and instead of goofy comic relief Styles, we get hallucinating horrified
Who's that?
possessed Styles, which they call void Styles.
You're not gonna shoot my son.
You said it yourself, Sheriff. That's not your son.
Put it down. Put it down.
Dad, he's gonna shoot me. He's gonna kill me, Dad.
Don't listen.
Gun down. Put it down. Now! Do it! Put it down!
Pull the trigger. Come on.
Listen to me. You put the gun down now. Put the gun down. Put the gun down. Shoot me.
And I think this is the first time that Dylan really proves himself as an actor outside of his MTV teenage YA bubble that he's kind of typecast into. He's really, really good this season, and not just in handling the emotional aspects of Styles, but also the emotionless aspects through void Styles. I really feel like he nails this and it's genuinely impressive, and I'm not just saying that as a fan. Look at his eyes, that is not Styles. If this wasn't all taking place on a supernatural wolf show made for teenagers on MTV, I 100% think he would have been nominated for an Emmy or a Golden Globe or something, not just an MTV Movie Award for Best Scared as Shit Performance. So Dylan goes on to do 3 more seasons of Teen Wolf after this, but I don't necessarily feel like we have to cover it because I really feel like he and the show hit their peak in season 3B. But it's important, he's still on it those next 3 seasons, and that's his main gig until his movie career really takes off.
What's up, baby? What's your name? Yeah, Dylan and I used to be like really good friends, and ever since he became Void, he's just been like, he's just not the same. Hey, bro. What's up, bitch? Who wants my autograph? You see these? I could kill you. What? I said,
You know, I can kick your ass.
I know.
Because I'm Void.
I'll tell you.
Get out of your lives if you just go to set.
Wow, you're really heavy.
You know my sunglasses so hard. Why are
You
you
just
so...
film this scene.
You changed, man.
Do I have to change wardrobe? The f*** you looking at? What the f*** you looking at?
So pre-Teen Wolf airing, Dylan did a movie called High Life, which I have not seen, but apparently it's an improv comedy. So to my understanding, it has like a loose script and then most of the dialogue is improvised by the actors. It's directed by Matt Walsh, who's the co-founder of the comedy improv troupe UCB. And their alumni includes Iowa Debris, Ilana Glazer, Ed Helms, Donald Glover, Nick Kroll, Aubrey Plaza, Kate McKinnon, Bowen Yang, and like so many more. So you would expect this film to be funny. I haven't seen it, but just based on Letterboxd, it doesn't seem to be that great. The most popular review on Letterboxd says, Dylan O'Brien, I hope you're happy. I'm funding your whole career right now on the 99p I spent on this shit. And she gave that 1 star. So didn't feel like I had to watch that one for this video. So after season 1 of Teen Wolf airs, Dylan does a rom-com called The First Time, and he films this in between seasons 1 and 2 of Teen Wolf. I remember watching this in high school and really liking it, so I rewatched it to see how it would hold up.
Why are you smiling?
You dig me.
No.
It's cheesy, but it's cute, and it's like surprisingly adept. I don't know if that's the right word. It's surprisingly like accurate just when it comes to like teenagers and talking about their approach to sex. I remember thinking that when I first saw it, and I think it holds up, but I don't know. I'm old now, so what do I know? After he does The First Time, he has a couple of guest appearances on TV shows, one called First Dates with Toby Harris, and then another on New Girl, where he plays the guy that Jess loses her virginity to in a flashback.
Give me an update, brother. How's your wang?
And I believe he gets like stuck in a slide and then like a firefighter has to come get him out.
We tried to make love on the bench, but there was a man there.
This man's dead.
What? Oh my god!
There's so much death in the world. I think I might be gay.
Yeah.
I think this is when they're all talking about their first time having sex and Schmidt is like, if I pee, will she die? Which I say all the time. These are both comedy TV shows, so he's still kind of staying in that lane, okay? Between seasons 1 and 2 of Teen Wolf. Around this time, he also does a movie called The Internship, which he films between seasons 2 and 3 of Teen Wolf. So again, comedy. And this is before he does season 3B. Okay, we're going to keep coming back to 3B. I feel like The Internship was a pretty big movie for him. He had a minor role, but it's a Shawn Levy movie. At this point, Shawn Levy had done like Date Night, Cheaper by the Dozen, Night at the Museum, and this is like a big comedy with Vince Vaughn and Owen Wilson. So I feel like this is a pretty big deal for Dylan.
But mine's more of a social sharing on the line that's happening.
Online. Quick interjection. When you keep saying on the line, you do mean online.
Stuart, don't do that. You don't do that to a man.
The movie is so stupid and it's not like fantastic, but it's a comedy and it's funny, so I feel like it's fine. I feel like that's fine for a comedy. I mean, that's a pretty low bar. Can you tell I don't watch comedies? So summer of 2013, season 3B of Teen Wolf airs. And it's right around this time that he gets cast in The Maze Runner. I'm not totally sure how the casting process works, but he would have already filmed Teen Wolf season 3B during this time. And maybe casting director saw him in that and thought, wait, this kid can actually act. This kid can do drama. Or maybe they just saw potential in him. I'm not really sure. For the sake of my argument, we're going to say that they saw Teen Wolf season 3B and they were impressed. Just like me at 15. I think everyone's heard of The Maze Runner because it was kind of a big deal when it came out, but I realized that that was 2014 and that was like 11 years ago. So you might have missed the cultural impact of these movies. After The Hunger Games came out, a lot of these like YA teen dystopian books were being turned into movies. Divergent, The Host, Ready Player One, and The Maze Runner. The Maze Runner is about this group of teenage boys who all get put into this maze after all their memories are erased as like an experiment, and they have to learn to live with each other and survive and find a way out.
We're trapped here. He's out there with a choice.
Dylan plays the main character named Thomas, who drops into the maze, and within 2 days, he's the leader of the entire group, even though some of them have literally been living there for like 3 years.
You've been here 3 days, all right? I've been here 3 years. Yeah, you've been here 3 years, and you're still here, Callie.
I don't know, I always thought that was kind of weird. The Maze Runner is Dylan's first big blockbuster movie, so this brings in a whole new audience of people that might not have seen or heard of him before. I remember being like really excited for this when it came out and like immediately going and buying the books and reading all 3 of them. I think there were 4, but one was like a prequel. I rewatched it last year on a plane and it like sort of held up. I don't know, I thought it was still fine. There's like a lot of running for like the demographic target audience they were going for. I feel like it was fine. Dylan gets a chance to show off some more dramatic acting, and like most Dylan O'Brien performances, his physicality. Most importantly, he proves that he can carry a movie like this as a lead actor. I was curious, so I looked up the budget for this movie, and it said they made this movie for $34 million. If you don't know a lot about like film financing, that's for a sci-fi movie, that is literally nothing. I mean, there's like these huge maze sets, large monsters, and the fact that the budget is that low for all of the CGI and special effects that they probably needed is kind of insane. So they make the movie for $34 million, and then at the box office it makes $348 million, which is literally crazy. I did more research after that, and I found out that the director, whose name is Wes Ball, actually had a background in visual effects before he started directing movies. So he was able to like effectively plan and create physical set pieces so that the CGI cost would be a little bit more minimal.
I'm happy to say that there is not a lot of green screen in this movie. There's a lot of extension work, but our glade was a real location.
That's the main entrance into the maze. The set piece that we built stands about 20 feet tall, although in the film, our walls will be about 100 feet tall.
First Maze Runner comes out, Dylan's first lead role in a big movie. It does okay. $314 million profit. Not bad. Not bad for your first big movie, Dylan. So that comes out in 2014, and then the sequel, which is called The Scorch Trials, comes out the next year, September 2015. So I imagine they started filming that like pretty immediately after the first movie is released. Movies take so long to come out now. Like they were just like cranking them out. It's just not like that anymore. And Teen Wolf is still going on during this.
Found him buried in a tomb of Wolfsbane in an Aztec temple in Mexico underneath a church in the middle of a town that was destroyed by an earthquake.
But again, it's all downhill after season 3B, so we're not going to cover it. I remember not liking the Scorch Trials as much as the first Maze Runner, but for Dylan's career, it's still pretty great. Thomas and the gang have escaped the maze, and they find out that they were in the maze because there's like a zombie apocalypse going on.
Thomas, watch out!
And now they're trying to like either get to safety or like find the people who put them in the maze. I really can't remember. The budget is bigger, but still it's only $61 million, which for sci-fi, again, I think is still pretty low. And then the movie ends up making $312 million. So still really good. And outside of the money and success of the film, this franchise really helps Dylan's career a lot.
This is such a joke that I'm up here right now. I love you too. Thank you.
He's building a brand, which sounds so icky, but I mean, that's kind of what it is. He's sort of moved away from comedy and he's moving more towards these action, adventure, drama roles. So after the Scorch Trials, he does a movie called Deepwater Horizon. This is the first time he's trying to move away from like the teen YA genre. Deepwater Horizon is a true story about the biggest oil spill that ever occurred in US history. It happened on an oil rig in the Gulf of Mexico. and it's about the crew that narrowly escapes with their lives. Dylan plays a crew member named Caleb Holloway who works on the oil rig. This is a big budget disaster movie, and it's directed by Peter Berg, who was one of the creators of Friday Night Lights. And it had like a really great cast. It had Mark Wahlberg, Kurt Russell, John Malkovich, Gina Rodriguez, and Kate Hudson. It got really good reviews, but it didn't do great at the box office. It only recouped about 10 million, which is not great. But as far as Dylan's career goes, I think this was a really big moment for him. He's in a supporting role, but he gets a lot of screen time, and his name is on the poster right next to these really huge names.
What the hell does he do?
After Deepwater Horizon, Dylan goes back to Teen Wolf to film their final season, which was absolute garbage. Dylan O'Brien is the best part of Teen Wolf, so the writers wanted to make the last season revolve around Styles because season 3B revolved around Styles, and it works so well. But Dylan had to split filming between season 6 of Teen Wolf and the final movie in the Maze Runner trilogy, The Death Cure, so unfortunately he couldn't be on set the entire time. So the writers came up with this plan to make Styles get like kidnapped by these like death horseman people or something.
I'm next.
Where's Styles? Who's Styles?
So all of his friends and family forget who he is, and he's just like conveniently absent for most of the season. And it sucks. I mean, look, it was probably hard to figure out a storyline that would work like that. So I guess they were fighting an uphill battle kind of, and they kind of worked with what they got, but it still sucked. So after Teen Wolf 6B ends, he goes to film The Death Cure, which again is the last movie in the Maze Runner trilogy. Early on in the filming process, Dylan gets injured on set and the production is set down indefinitely. I did a lot of research on this because I remember hearing about it when it happened, but I didn't like actually know what happened. So I found a really great article that was Dylan's first interview post-accident where he talks about what happened. Basically, he was performing a stunt on like a moving vehicle for the film's opening scene. He was in a harness, and then he was like unexpectedly jerked into the air, and then he flew into another vehicle face first. He had a severe concussion, and he had brain trauma, and he had to have facial reconstructive surgery to repair the damage to the right side of his face. According to the incident report, the cause of the accident was that Dylan's rope that was attached to his harness wasn't long enough. So he was like swung off of one vehicle, and then he was just like partially suspended into another vehicle that was coming straight towards him, and then it just smashed into him. Not only is this injury traumatic for the obvious physical reasons, but I have to imagine that this had a serious effect on Dylan's mental state when it comes to the overall safety of the film industry in general. As an actor in these action movies, you're putting a lot of trust into the people who are responsible for your safety. And when something like this happens, I feel like the trauma of that might deter you from ever wanting to return to an acting career. Also, this is right when he's finishing the series that he's been on for 7 years and finishing the last film in this movie trilogy. So he had to have been excited about moving on to the next chapter of his career outside of this teen YA demographic. And this accident probably destroyed any hope that he had for the future of his career. So that was in March 2016. And then he's recovering physically and mentally. He's on a hiatus from acting for about 5 months. And then in September of 2016, he starts filming an action movie called American Assassin. This movie is about a vigilante turned CIA operative. And here's what Dylan said in that San Francisco Chronicle article about going back to acting so soon after his accident. This was definitely tackling it head on. I also felt more connected to the character in a way and more informed than I ever could have been. At the same time, I was terrified to do it. O'Brien says he learned from the film CIA advisors of personal traumas that set them, like Rapp, the main character, and now like O'Brien, on their paths. Dylan said, that strength comes in a way from having survived these traumatic incidents. Obviously, it's not every one of those guys, but I felt really connected to that. But it's really important that Mitch accept that what happened to him is always going to be with him, and no amount of revenge will ever heal that. So American Assassin does pretty well at the box office, but critically it doesn't do great. I think for an action movie, it's well crafted. but I remember watching it and not really caring at all about Mitch, the main character. His entire motivation is just to avenge his wife's death, and then he takes that and kind of reworks his anger into working for the CIA, but we don't see a lot of personal growth from him outside of that. I don't watch a lot of action movies, so maybe this is just the norm, but for me, I thought it was boring. While I think that Dylan can play the emotionless assassin type, I don't necessarily think it showcases his greatest strengths. This is Dylan's first time as the lead outside of a teen movie, so I think it's kind of a bummer that it wasn't that much of a success. However, it does seem that the movie helps him face a lot of his fears and emotions that he had post-injury. So that's pretty cool, considering that after he does American Assassin, he has to go back to finish filming The Death Cure. He literally has to go back to that set that he was injured on. And I think that's crazy. I don't know how he did that. His dad became a co-producer on the film, so at least when he goes to film, he like has that support with him. And I'm sure like many reforms were made to that set to make sure that the actors and crew were safe going forward. The Death Cure does well financially, critically not great, but successfully wraps up the Maze Runner story, and I think it's actually a lot better than the Scorch trials. After the Maze Runner and Teen Wolf both conclude, according to my own observations, I feel like Dylan makes a conscious effort to kind of avoid that genre and big budget movies in general. Unfortunately, I do think that this hiatus, injury, and the reception of American Assassin have an impact on his career, and his rapid rise to success kind of slows down a little bit after this. Again, it also could have been a conscious choice by him to just be more picky about what projects he was doing based on his past experiences. But either way, he kind of drops into a valley of sorts for the next few years, from early 2018 to late 2021.
You actually have a lot going on when you're on set and when you're off set, actually. So like, for instance, right? I'm not working right now. What am I doing? Hustling behind the scenes. I'm on the phone with my manager at least 3 times a day. It's like, what do? I get up at 6. I get up at 6, I stretch. I make a coffee, I focus.
I know absolutely nothing about the Transformers movies, but I do know that this was a part of that. I guess he was the voice of Bumblebee, which I thought was really interesting until I looked it up and they were like, oh, he gets his voice box ripped out at the beginning of the movie, so then he doesn't talk the rest of it.
I'll never talk. Is that right? Then let's make it official.
Dylan's really only in this at the very beginning. Good for him though, you know, way to get that paycheck and try something new, okay? Then the TV show he does is a YouTube original series created by Jordan Peele. It's called Weird City and it's like set in the future. It only has 6 episodes and each one of them has like a different story and a new cast. And it has a lot of big people who did episodes. Dylan's in the first episode and he basically gets like romantically matched with the grandpa from Modern Family, and they're supposed to be like a perfect compatibility match. I think it's kind of random that he did this show, but also it's Jordan Peele and he gets the opportunity to do comedy again, so love that for him and me.
People keep asking me too, my friends, my mom, Dylan, when are you gonna go back to work? And my answer is the same thing every time. Why would I go back to work when I am the most productive I have ever been right now? That's what I say to them.
In early 2019, Dylan films another TV series called Amazing Stories. This is an Apple TV show that was based off of the 1980s anthology TV show, which was created by Steven Spielberg. Each episode focuses on like a Twilight Zone-esque story in the realm of fantasy, sci-fi, and horror. Apparently the original critically did really well, but its ratings weren't high enough to get it renewed for more seasons. The revamped series on Apple TV didn't do great critically and also didn't get renewed for a second season. Dylan's in the first episode, which is called The Cellar, where he plays a man who finds a time portal in his basement and he travels to 1919 and falls in love with a woman who he tries to bring to the future with him. I think that Dylan is fantastic in this, and I actually really like this episode as a whole. He really gets to shine emotionally, and he has really good chemistry with the girl who's in it, Victoria Pedretti. My biggest issue with this is that I don't love the anthology format. I would rather watch one complete movie, watch a fully fleshed out episodic television show. I would rather do that than jump from like story to story with a clean slate every time. So I feel like not a lot of people watch this show because of that, and if you did watch it, it was probably because you were a fan of the original series or you wanted to watch that first episode because Dylan O'Brien was in it. I feel like he might have been drawn to the anthology format with this and with The Weird City because of the time commitment aspect of it. Both series are a one and done kind of deal, and they both have these big names attached, like Jordan Peele and Steven Spielberg. So I think these were good career choices for him. The reception was just not necessarily on a scale large enough to get him out of this lull. That, again, he could be in by choice to deal with some of that trauma and burnout that he experienced from his early career.
There are things that you have to do to be an effective actor. As an artist, I've always said, get the fuck out of my way, dude.
So Dylan's next project is a movie called Flashback, which according to Letterboxd and IMDb came out in 2020. But I did some more research and it actually wasn't released until June of 2021. I think what happened is it got a limited release in theaters in March of 2020, and then it got put on a hiatus until 2021, and then was re-released in select theaters. Unfortunately, post-pandemic was not a great time to go to the movies, and then no one saw this when it came out because it was March 2020. I remember when the trailer for this came out, because again, excited about every Dylan O'Brien project because they're kind of far and few between at this time. The movie was originally going to be called The Education of Frederick Fitzel, which is a mouthful, but it's a more interesting title than Flashback. I hate to say it. This is Dylan's first time as a lead of a film post the Maze Runner series finishing. It's a big deal for him, but I think the timing of Flashback kind of keeps him in this career lull. No one really hears about it when it comes out. Critically, it doesn't do great, and the quality of the actual film is just okay. Flashback is kind of an alternate reality, dark thriller kind of thing. "75% of the way into the movie, I was so pissed because I was so confused, and I kept holding out hope that everything was gonna come together. But then, like, the end of the movie came and I was still so confused. I mean, like, I basically understood what happened in the movie, but not enough where I could figure out, like, what the movie was trying to say. But then I looked up an analysis, and when it was explained, it was actually, like, super trippy and kind of made sense, and even made me rethink if it was possible that I could be living 3 separate realities all at the same time. But it wasn't like Inception or Donnie Darko or The Prestige where you're like confused the whole time until it clicks and then you feel so smart because you've like figured it out. It makes all the confusion worth it. I feel like Flashback could have been that if they had like one more draft of the script before they filmed it, with like a more linear structure, just like one super clear, small but substantial piece of dialogue, just so it like really clicks at the end. But that could have ruined it. I don't know. I think Dylan is amazing in this still.
Information around you.
Oh my god. It's not a memory. Still happening.
It's a dramatic role, but he gets to handle some of those horror elements that he did so well in Teen Wolf Season 3B. He just kind of looks like this most of the movie, and I mean that in the most complimentary, non-derogatory way. He's very good at looking like this, and he makes the movie better because of his performance. This is another element that I think differentiates a great actor from a good actor. Even if the material he's given isn't the best, an actor can elevate that material with his performance, and I think that Dylan really does this in this movie as well as in his next movie, Love and Monsters. I also should say that with these last few projects that Dylan works on, the mark of a successful movie is not just how much money did it make or did the critics like it. I'm not an actor, but I imagine that when an actor approaches new roles, these are not their primary questions. They want to take on roles that they're emotionally attracted to or that resonate with them personally, or that they think is an important story that needs to be told. Obviously, they want their movies to make money, and they want people to want to see them, and they want critics to think that they're good. But I just want to clarify that that's not the only reason that Dylan is choosing these projects. I've never spoken to him about it, but I'm just advocating for him because I can. Okay, so Love and Monsters is Dylan's return and final addition to the teen YA adventure genre. It takes place during a fictional monster apocalypse.
So you guys don't get scared ever?
We get scared.
We all get scared, Joel, but you get really scared.
But we're not trying to make you feel bad, Joel.
We love you, Joel.
But you're unsafe.
You're a liability.
You've been on supply runs.
Okay, why did that speech feel so rehearsed?
This movie is cute. It's really cute and it's fun. Nothing crazy, like it's got a sweet message about facing your fears. And it got a 94% on Rotten Tomatoes, which is really, really good and not what I expected when I went into this movie. In this movie, he plays a guy named Joel who's lived underground for 7 years because of the monster apocalypse, and he wants to go back into the outside world, brave the monsters, and reunite with his high school girlfriend. Now you might be thinking, wait, isn't this kind of a step back for Dylan? Why would he go back to that teen fantasy adventure genre when he's trying to distinguish himself as an adult actor outside of that? I'm so glad you asked, because I was wondering that too. And here's what I think. One, from a career standpoint, I do think that this was a safe bet for Dylan. He had been venturing outside of his original genre, but it's what he was primarily known for, and after American Assassin and Flashback didn't give him the career boost that he was anticipating, I understand why he might have wanted to return to something that he already knew. So I think that was definitely a factor, but I also think that another reason he signed on to Love and Monsters was the script of this film and how he might have personally connected to it when it came to his own personal history and his career history. Hear me out. For Dylan, the monster apocalypse could have been like a metaphor for his injury, which, just like the apocalypse in the movie, took place at the end of his high school years, where he had worked on Teen Wolf and The Maze Runner, and he was young and up and coming and had all this hope for the future. And then the monster apocalypse comes, aka his near-death injury, and suddenly he's afraid to face his fears and venture out into the world to be an actor again. I don't know, maybe these are a couple reasons he chooses this as his next film. Unfortunately, Love and Monsters is another pandemic casualty film. It comes out in theaters October of 2020, but then Netflix picks it up in April of 2021. Gets a little bit more traction there, but still very much under the radar.
Yo, what's the rate on this, by the way?
What do you mean?
Compensation-wise, financial. Just like, what am I getting? Is it SAG rate? Or?
I'm doing this for class, remember? I can't pay you.
It's not a paying gig. Yeah, yeah, no, I know.
Is that okay?
Yeah. I don't need it.
After this, he's in a direct-to-streaming sci-fi thriller Paramount Plus Mark Wahlberg movie called Infinite. I had never heard of this movie prior to making this video, and it truly looks so bad. But a lot of the reviews said that Dylan O'Brien was criminally underused, so I'm sure his limited screen time did make this movie a whole lot better. When I was researching this movie, one of the first articles that came up just had a photo of Timothée Chalamet as the thumbnail, which I thought was funny. I also learned that they filmed this movie in late 2019, so they filmed it pre-pandemic. I would call this a pandemic casualty movie. They chose to make it direct to streaming, so I don't think that the pandemic had an effect on how forgettable it was. So October of 2021, Dylan is in an episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm, which I think probably was really exciting for him. As I've said before, I think his comedic timing is one of his greatest strengths, and Curb Your Enthusiasm is one of the best comedies out there. So even though he just gets like a small little role in one episode, I think this is a really great boost for him. He plays himself in the episode, and he's like auditioning for Larry David for the role of Larry David in a TV show that he's going to make about his life, which is very meta.
It's intolerable! My ears are bleeding! It's really one of the worst experiences of my life. I'm not exaggerating.
Dylan did an interview with The Hollywood Reporter, and he said that, quote, "This role is probably the last thing anyone would expect from me, but it's so my sense of humor. I love taking the piss out of myself. Even in my old sketches, I would always play alternate versions of myself that were totally not me."
Whatever. Didn't go as I planned, but that's what happens. As an actor, you always got to shrug that stuff off, you know?
Yeah.
Always got to move on to the next. As Adina would say, cold doesn't bother me anyway. Right? Just gotta let it go. Oh.
So Infinite comes out summer of 2021, Curb Your Enthusiasm in fall of 2021, and then finally the Dylan O'Brien Resurgence hits on November 12th, 2021. We've made it to the end of the lull. If you were a Dylan O'Brien fan in November of 2021, you could see the light at the end of the tunnel. We've been in this valley, okay? We've been in this valley, and now we're going to start going up that hill. And it's going to be slow, but we're going up that hill. We finally made it. So in November of 2021, Dylan O'Brien stars opposite Sadie Sink in the Taylor Swift music video for her 10-minute version of All Too Well. It's called a short film, but it's like a long music video. This really pushes him into the spotlight again. A lot of people were surprised and excited to see him in this because everybody was like, oh my god, it's Dylan O'Brien. Like, where has he been? Little did they know he'd been in a post-injury, post-teen genre, post-pandemic, post-pandemic career lull for the last 4 years. But I knew. I'm sure we've all seen the All Too Well short film. It's got 104 million views. I'm sure you're one or many of those views. It's just like a really long music video, but I feel like this does more for his career than like the past 7 projects he's worked on. No surprise, he's great in it, and his performance is a lot more understated than I've seen from him in anything else. Like all resurgences, they take a little bit of time to get off the ground, especially when it comes to the film industry. Dylan's next 4 projects, The Outfit, Not Okay, The Other Two, and Maximum Truth, are all released between early 2022 and summer of 2023, meaning that these were all hypothetically signed onto and or filmed before the All Too Well music video hits the internet. Not that these are bad projects. However, you can tell that the kinds of projects that he was offered drastically changed after the Dylan O'Brien resurgence began to take shape and he started filming new movies in 2023. So let's talk about the projects he films before All Too Well hits the internet. First, he does a movie called The Outfit. This is written and directed by a guy named Graham Moore, who has won an Oscar for Best Adapted Screenplay for The Imitation Game. So that's pretty cool. The Outfit is kind of like a film noir mobster movie that also stars Mike Rylance and Zoe Deutsch. And it's about an English tailor who makes suits for gangsters in Chicago.
Now, I'm glad you said that. My father, Francis.
Props to Dylan's agent for getting him into this, especially during a time when a lot of his recent feature film projects weren't the best career choices for him. He's great in this, and he gets to do a mix of drama, comedy, and action to an extent. So this film's early 2021, releases March 2022. After he films The Outfit, he does a Hulu dark comedy called Not Okay. This follows an influencer who lies about being in Paris during a terrorist attack so she can elevate her career online. This movie gave me the worst secondhand embarrassment and anxiety. I would never watch it again. Dylan doesn't have like a huge role in this. He plays another social media influencer who the main character has a crush on. I think his name is Colin.
Bitches, am I right? Damn, she still got that backside on her, though.
Colin, you're from Maine.
Okay, cool, Harper. Great.
Dylan is purely comedy acting in this, and you can see that he's having a great time. He's also got this blonde buzz cut that I'm a little bit obsessed with. The most popular Letterboxd review for Not Okay is love Dylan O'Brien's performance as Pete Davidson in this movie, which is awesome. Okay, so Not Okay films summer to fall of 2021 and releases July of 2022. Okay, you guys still following? Then he's not in anything until March 2023, where he guest stars as himself in an episode of this HBO comedy called The Other Two. This series is written by Chris Kelly and Sarah Schneider, who are both head writers at SNL together. Molly Shannon is also in it, and I know it's been critically acclaimed since it came out, so I'm sure it's hilarious. Dylan just, again, has a little cameo where he plays himself, so not like a huge career-advancing role.
You auditioned for Ambassador of Belgium too?
Yes, it's a small part, so I thought I had a shot, but I guess I do not.
I can't even fucking believe I still got to audition. I'm a fucking maze runner, bro.
Probably just a fun little comedy role that he did because he was a fan of the show or the writers were a fan of him. The next month, Dylan is in a comedy with Ike Barinholtz called Maximum Truth, and this releases in June of 2023. Again, remember that this was probably filmed in mid to late 2022 and was probably signed on to in like early fall of 2021. So again, pre-alltoowell, okay? Pre-alltoowell. He signs on to this. At least that's what I'm telling myself because everything I've read about this movie is not great. I haven't watched it, so I don't know, but I haven't watched it because all of the reviews that I've seen for it are so bad. It's basically like a political mockumentary about this guy who's like trying to take down his congressional opponent. The people involved with this movie are successful comedians like Ike Barinholtz and then David Stassen, I don't know. They're the producers and writers on the Mindy Project, and then Seth Rogen was also involved with this. So, like, I guess I can understand the appeal of wanting to be a part of this film. Dylan also is, like, co-starring in it as one of the leads. So that's another plus, and as I've said before, Dylan excels at comedy.
Woo!
So I understand why he does this movie. It's just not good. Like I said earlier, from the perspective of us, the film industry's audience, the Dylan O'Brien resurgence takes a little bit of time to get off the ground. The 2022 and 2023 releases are not the resurgence that we might have hoped for. But behind the scenes, Dylan is working hard. He's taking meetings, he's signing on to new projects, and he's filming the most interesting projects of his career so far. If we look back at Dylan O'Brien's career, he's done a lot of impressive stuff. You might be thinking, what? Isn't the entire point of this video that Dylan O'Brien, the most underrated and underutilized actor of our generation, is not being cast to his full potential? And yes, you're so right, it is. I would describe his career as spotty, but he still has a pretty impressive resume. If we looked at Teen Wolf alone, from the perspective of a new actor breaking into the industry, it's impressive. Then he does The Maze Runner. He's carrying this multi-million-dollar successful teen trilogy. That's impressive. And then he returns to acting after an on-set accident that would make any sane person question if this was really the career path for them. Then when he's finally finding his footing again and trying to establish himself as an actor outside of the teen genre roles that got him started, the industry and the world gets hit with a once-in-a-generation global pandemic that puts the entire film industry on hold, prevents him from working, and slows down his career growth. A lot of people like to joke that Dylan O'Brien's agent hates him, and that's why his career path is so spotty. Maybe management was part of the problem, I really don't know. I tried to do some research to find out if he switched agents or managers post the alltoowell release, but I don't have an IMDb Pro account, so I don't really have access to information like that. So we can't know for sure. But I really think the biggest problem he was facing was he was kind of fighting an uphill battle to stay relevant, which sounds so harsh. As we talked about, this could have been a conscious decision by him post-injury, but either way, it does hurt his career a little bit and it takes him some time to find his footing again. But finally, we reached the Dylan O'Brien resurgence in full swing in January of 2024 when Dylan is in a movie called Ponyboi that premieres at the Sundance Film Festival.
I've only been at this festival once before, 12 years ago, in the first movie I ever did. And I was like, this is easy. Filmed at Sundance, great.
And I've actually never been back to a festival since any or this, so it's not lost on me how amazing this moment is.
According to my knowledge of what constitutes an indie film, like an art house indie film, this is Dylan's first time doing anything like that. The movie Ponyboi is based on a short film of the same name, written and produced by actor River Gaio. The short film premiered in 2019 at the Tribeca Film Festival and then was recreated into a feature-length film, which then premiered at Sundance in 2024. It was nominated for the Grand Jury Prize, which is like the most prestigious award that the festival offers. Ponyboi follows an intersex sex worker who is pursued by the mob after a drug deal goes wrong. Dylan plays a pimp named Vinny who is connected to Ponyboi and also to their best friend Angel, who he has impregnated. Again, I think doing this movie is such a good career choice for Dylan. First of all, it's a role that he has never come close to playing before. It's completely different than anything else he's done. This shows people that he's got range. We already knew he had range, but now he gets a chance to prove that he can do something completely different. And secondly, it's an indie movie, and like I said before, he hasn't really done anything like this before. He's never really done like an indie art house movie. Indie projects can be risky, but I feel like Dylan really connected with River's vision for the project and took a chance on a smaller budget indie film, which really paid off for him. From all my online research, this movie does really well with audiences and critics at Sundance. And here's a review from one quote in The Hollywood Reporter. They said, Gaio's screenplay achieves something still rare in an industry unnecessarily confused about inclusion. Ponyboi seamlessly integrates its characters' challenges with identity into a propulsive story about a sex worker on the run. I wanted to watch this so bad before making this video, but it just isn't available to watch anywhere quite yet. I did see online that it's going to be released in theaters June 27th, 2025, so look out for that. I definitely will be. After Ponyboi, Dylan is in 2 episodes of a 6-part comedy sketch series called Fantasmas. Similar to his stints on Curb Your Enthusiasm and the other 2, Fantasmas is a highly critically acclaimed comedy series, but Dylan does get like a little bit bigger of a role in this one. I'm not going to get too far into this one, but the series was created by up-and-coming actor Julio Torres. I don't think we can call this an indie project because it's literally an HBO series. An indie implies small budget and independent, but it does have an indie creator at the helm. So that's interesting, and I think another good choice for Dylan. It's offbeat and it's artsy, but he still gets to showcase his comedic timing.
Just like we rehearsed? From the heart.
Yeah, okay. Got it.
Action.
Yo, 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 what up, you busty, dusty fuck nuts? Boy, do I have an announcement for you ladies today.
Next up is my personal favorite in the Dylan O'Brien Resurgence, and this is Jason Reitman's Saturday Night. This movie is a dramatic retelling of the very first premiere episode of Saturday Night Live.
We need everyone in togas! Everyone down to the 8th floor now!
I grew up watching Saturday Night Live, the new seasons as well as reruns, so as soon as the trailer came out for this, I knew I was gonna love it. I saw it twice in theaters, and then they just put it on Netflix, so I watched it again a couple weeks ago, and I love this movie. I think it's so good. It didn't get like the stellar reviews that I was expecting it to get. Like, it did fine, but I literally was like Oscars. This movie will be nominated for Oscars. I do understand some of the criticisms of this film, like that it's not really palatable for an audience that doesn't care about Saturday Night Live. Like, okay, fair. But another criticism is that this film wasn't funny, which I don't get at all.
Jesus Christ. Sorry, tripped over my penis.
It's not like a straight comedy. Like, there's a lot of drama involved. Like, if comedy was the main priority of the film, I think it would feel disingenuous. I look at it more as like a tribute to the chaos and payoff of Saturday Night Live's conception, as well as like a tribute to all of the people involved. And that's where a lot of the comedy comes in, with the actors who are portraying the OG cast members. We have Corey Michael Smith as Chevy Chase, Ella Hunt as Gilda Radner, Lamorne Morris as Garrett Morris, Kim Matula as Jane Curtin, Emily Farron as Lorraine Newman, Matt Wood as John Belushi, and Dylan O'Brien as Dan Aykroyd.
That would take a lot of guts.
There were bells on the hill, but I never heard them ringing.
Online, people like me aka people who already knew that Dylan O'Brien was the most criminally underrated actor of our generation, we were so excited to see Dylan in a big budget, highly conceptual, theatrical film helmed by an award-winning director. These are the kind of projects that Dylan should be in. Finally, people are recognizing his talent and casting him accordingly. Look, I'm biased because I love Dylan, but I genuinely think this casting is genius. Not only does Dylan actually look so much like a young Dan Aykroyd, but he has the comedic timing and the physicality to pull it off.
Ma'am, oh, don't be alarmed. You're dealing with a fully qualified male strumpet. Sure, you professional hygiene. Oh. Discretion, animal gratification.
And maybe I was naive to think that he would get some awards recognition for this performance, okay? It is an ensemble cast, and other actors do get more screen time than him, but it's one of the best roles I've seen Dylan in, and I'm so glad he got to do it. So Saturday Night comes out September of 2024, and Dylan's next movie premieres just 2 weeks later on HBO Max, and this is called Caddo Lake. I can't tell you like too much about it without spoiling it, but it's kind of like a sci-fi thriller mystery. It stars Dylan O'Brien and Eliza Scanlon, who you've probably seen in Little Women, but also has been in like indie standouts, Baby Teeth and The Starling Girl. Both her and Dylan are really, really good in this. And while the story can get a little confusing at times, it's grounded in their emotional performances. It's a really interesting watch. I actually like highly recommend. This is also Dylan's first direct to streaming. Wait, I'm just now realizing his first direct to streaming was actually Infinite because it came out on Paramount Plus. This is Dylan's first film that he's the lead of that comes out on direct to streaming, and it is on HBO Max, which I think has the best quality of direct to streaming. So again, really good choice for him, and really exciting that he can headline a direct to streaming film like this and pull in an audience like just on name alone. So Dylan's last project we're going to talk about in this video is called Twinless. This is his most recent release. It's an indie movie that premiered last month at the Sundance Film Festival, and it follows these two guys who join a bereavement group for twins who have lost their twin, basically, twinless. The film did extremely well at the festival. It was nominated for the Grand Jury Prize, which again is the most prestigious award Sundance gives out. It won the Audience Award, which is, just like it sounds, voted on by the audience for their favorite film of the festival. Dylan also won the Special Jury Award for acting, which is a big deal. If this video is focusing on the career highs and lows of Dylan O'Brien, this is definitely his highest high so far. It's the culmination of all of his hard work and a testament to his talent that not only was he nominated for this award, but that he won. Unfortunately, as I mentioned at the beginning of this video, Twinless has become a little bit infamous right now online because of an incident that took place. Basically, if you can't afford to attend Sundance, the festival has an option where you can buy a ticket to a film screening online. This is great because not everyone can afford to physically go to the festival or to take time off of work. So this is like an alternative option that gives people the opportunity to still see these films, which is cool, right? Unfortunately, some people didn't respect the confidentiality of these screenings, and they recorded clips from Twinless, specifically a sex scene that Dylan was in, and posted it online. This forced Sundance to remove the video from their website because of piracy reasons. This sucks for so many reasons, but mainly it sucks because this could result in Sundance permanently removing the streaming feature from their other festivals going forward. I saw TikTok about this and how the culture of watching movies in theaters has dramatically changed just like in the last few years. People feel like if there's something in front of them, they're entitled to own or capture that thing. People will just like pull out their phones and take videos or pictures of whatever's on screen in a movie theater. The feeling is like I paid for this, so I'm entitled to do this. This is what was happening with the Sundance screenings. The etiquette for watching movies has kind of just gone out the window. And this is a bummer because not only have people lost the opportunity to see the movie, but the movie as well as Dylan's performance in it has now been just reduced to this one sex scene, and it's probably going to be infamous for that when it's released later on down the line. On the plus side, attention is attention, and this could help the film be picked up by distributors, but the circumstances I think are unfortunate. Regardless of all of that, I'm still really excited to see Twinless. I hope it gets a theatrical release soon. I know this is only going to give him more of a career boost, and I think we're going to start seeing some really interesting and exciting projects from Dylan that highlight and corroborate his talent going forward. And I'm so excited for him. And me, because I get to watch them. So according to his IMDb, his next 2 projects coming up are called Send Help and Anniversary. Anniversary is a drama thriller that, according to IMDb, is completed, so could be coming out semi soon. It has like an amazing cast. It has Diane Lane, aka Cherry Valance, Kyle Chandler, aka Coach Taylor, and Zoe Deutsch, who previously worked with Dylan in The Outfit and Not Okay. Anniversary follows a close-knit family as a new movement called The Change moves through the country. My favorite movie genre is family drama, and this kind of sounds like that, but like wrapped inside of like a political thriller. So I don't know. I'm really excited about this one. Hopefully we'll hear more about it soon. And then after Anniversary, Dylan's next upcoming project is called Send Help, which is a Sam Raimi horror film that's also starring Rachel McAdams. If you don't know Sam Raimi, he created the Evil Dead franchise and he directed the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man trilogy. So he's definitely like established himself in Hollywood, and his projects are usually like highly anticipated. I couldn't find a ton about this online. I do know that it like just started filming, so I don't think it'll be coming out for probably like a year, maybe more. And the only thing I could really find about the plot online, that it's like a deserted island plane crash horror movie. I think it'll have a pretty big budget, probably have a theatrical release, so very excited about that one. The Dylan O'Brien resurgence is in full swing. As a longtime fan, I'm so happy for him. Hopefully this video gave you a little more insight into his career and maybe got you a little more excited about what's to come for him. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to see more from me, please like this video and subscribe. I have 2 other videos. That's it right now. Hopefully I'll have more videos coming soon. Thanks for watching. Bye!